Alright, student fine. Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, a very special good evening to one and all. Right? Myself Shabnam as usual again from Code Ark, and we are here at day 18 of our Python SQL Django series and the day 56 of our full stack web development series. Alright, fine. Otherwise, audibility, visibility all clear and set to go ahead. Please give a acknowledgement message in the chat section so that we can continue. Alright, shall be waiting for your response. Fine. Take it. First of all, the day 17, that is the class last time when we had met, we were talking about some date and time based examples. I don't know how many of you have practically put those examples into practice back at your places. How many of you are actually going through all our past assignment questions as well to keep yourself motivated and keep continuing the practice of coding? All clear. Okay, thank you. Fine. Alright, fine. Somewhere we were understanding how to create the date object, date time object, and only time object. We were also understanding two important functions from these classes, like a today function and a now function. I hope you got my point. So all these stuffs we were discussing that day. Is that correct? Fine. All clear. Okay. Now the class today and tomorrow we are talking about one of the most important concept of any language, in fact any object oriented language, which is called as object oriented programming. Okay, thank you. Fine. Now for those of my friends who are coming here from the background of C++ or Java or even JavaScript, alright, this topic or this fundamental might be quite familiar to you. For those who are understanding coding for the very first time, you need to put in little efforts and practice to become firm in OOPS principle. That's how we pronounce this in short, that is object oriented programming, right? And even if you have attended our classes of JavaScript, we have discussed the concept of OOPS quite in detail. The concept remains same, only the syntax is different here. Okay, OOPS is important. Yes, OOPS is very important, in fact not only of Python but of the entire full stack. Last time what we were dealing with date also, date and time or date time both, is that clear? That nothing but we were creating an object. So let us first talk about OOPS, then we'll go to file handling, we'll go to exception handling. As somebody was asking, I think Navin was asking in the chat section, when is Python going to be completed? Okay, Python is going to be completed by the end of first week of January. After that we will begin with Django. Alright, that is where a little more advanced work will start. I hope you got my point. Fine. The reason why first week of January, because the last week of December we are not available here. We are having inadequacy of the staff to conduct the classes as well as to do the other arrangement. I think we had kept this thing informed to you well in advance. Okay, fine. So let's see, let's give a start and let's know what exactly is object oriented programming. Okay, fine. Would be glad if you could keep noting the points in your notebooks. That is one of a very good way of learning. Number one, let me open something in notepad here. Okay. Yes, Navin, I know, right in my mind, not only you, there were many other people who have asked me some questions, some technical errors you are facing in my personal WhatsApp window. We are unable to respond to you back. The reason why, because we are too occupied in some webinar series since the past 8 to 10 days. Okay, but I promise I'll get back to you for that. Okay, it's right in my mind, we have forgotten nothing. Okay, please accept my excuse from your end. Okay, take it. Number one, people, Python deals everything in terms of object. Okay, all the things, all stuffs. Okay, in terms of object. Now first of all, here we don't know what exactly object mean. Okay, what exactly object, but let me support this point before we can understand object and object oriented programming all itself. Okay, this is my Visual Studio Code open. Okay, let me close these codes as we are not interested. Okay, save this. Please pay attention. Say day, what's today? 18. Oh, so sorry for that. It's PPY. Either you rename or you create a new. Fine. Say I write a equals 10, and if I want to check the data type of a, you see it says a is an object of class integer. Alright, so a is an object of class integer. Shreyas, I'll come to your question in the chat section. Give me some time, please. Fine. So if I write like this, b is equal to India or Mumbai or something like that, and if I type what is b, tell me the data type. So it says b is an object of the class string. I hope you're understanding it. So all these are nothing but a or b. For you it may be a variable. See, it tells you there it's a variable, but point number 1, take a strong stand here. बात समझने की कोशिश करिए, एक्चुअल में पाइथन के लिए वेरिएबल नहीं है. It actually considers them as object of some particular class. Alright, fine. Now before I could start with exactly what is the meaning of this, we have to first understand these two words today. What is object and what are classes? Fine. Alright, the same example today I start with the way we have learned object and classes during our JavaScript days. For example, we manufacture this product. Say I own a company or you own a company और आप ये product बनाते हो. Is that okay? आप ये product बनाते हो, right? But this product we manufacture on a very large scale. So of course this product we don't start manufacturing at first end. हम इसे पहले design करते हैं. We design this product first. Right? For example, this much should be the height, this much should be the circumference or the circular length, or this much must be the width or radius whatsoever. The only reason behind इसको design करने के पीछे the only reason behind, we don't spend time behind designing each product every time. Alright, so we manufacture this product at a mass scale, 1 lakh per day for example. अरे तो 1 lakh product को हर बार हम डिज़ाइन करते नहीं बैठेंगे. We aren't going to put in the same time, same effort, same labor, same mind to design 1 lakh product 1 lakh times, right? So what we will do is we will create one blueprint. Here is my notepad. Okay, we decide that we'll create one blueprint which is nothing but called as a master design. Okay, and this is going to be common for all the products. Am I right? Say that blueprint or that design is like a shape that every glass or every product has to be poured in and take it. Is that okay? Say we put some molten material in that shape and every material who goes inside that shape, it takes the shape. Alright, so this design becomes a masterpiece. It becomes a blueprint. And the objects or the copies which we create out of this design, this is called as its object. I hope you got bump on. Is that okay? One more time to be spoken. The design that is called as nothing but a blueprint, or in our language nothing but a class or a masterpiece. The number of copies that we create out of this design is called as nothing but its object. The same thing is applicable to many things that I see around. For example, I see around this small object here. Every time maybe manufacture again this 100 or 2000 or 10,000 number of products each day, but every time we are not going to decide the shape or decide the different parts and all. So one design is fixed, others are only its copy. Bookmark this point please. एक design fix होती है, बाकी सारी उसकी copy है. Alright, now the same thing is applicable in our application or the programming languages also. If you need too many objects, So first thing is, do not start coding upon the object directly. First to design the object and then create copy of that design, which will become easy to code. I hope you got my point. Is that okay? First to design an object. That design is only called as nothing but a class. Okay, that one master design which is going to be commonly used among the object, that is called as nothing but a class. And the copy of the design, people, copy or copies, let me say. Okay, copy or copies of this design is called as nothing but its object. Okay, and together this is called as nothing but object oriented programming. Okay, say I'm working on a game. It's like a ping pong game. People where two people are playing table tennis and both of them have their own paddles. Say it's a 4-player game, so it will have 4 paddles moving up, down, left, right and all. Paddles are like a rectangle. I hope you got my point. Fine. So instead of coding every time for 4 paddles or 4 rectangle, why don't you design this paddle once and next time onwards only change some property and create its copy, which will be called as its object. Right? So that is what is called as object oriented programming. You first work on one master copy, that's called as nothing but a design or a class, and the copies created out of this design or a class is nothing but better termed as its object. Alright, would pause here for a moment of time to read the chat section. Okay, Shreyas, fine, I consider. As long as we have your attendance, we consider. Okay. One machine class that can prepare more number of products. Yes, Navin, right. Fine. Nothing as significant, so let us continue from here. Is that alright? All of us here, fine. So let's come back to our code here. I get rid of all these. I don't want. So first of all, let's see how to create a class. Okay. Fine. The way we have a function def to define a function, or let me say the way we have a keyword def to create a function, we have a keyword called as class to create a new class. Is that okay? Fine. For the last time, the way def creates a new function, the keyword class is to create a new class followed by say name of the class. Okay, say I'm creating a class by the name. Okay, let's take again the same example, say animal. Okay, animal colon, because this is going to be the definition of the class. Okay, now for one moment I stop here. What did I tell you? Class is like a one common design whose copies we are going to create, which will be called as an object. Right, now this is the most structured way of coding, people. Is that you will find the developers actually work or actually create application in this way. You first design an object before you actually create it, and create copies of the design. Eventually we call them as an object. ठीक है, ये एक बात हो गई. Number two. Now why did I halt here is, remember every object that you see around you, आप आपके सामने जो भी object देखते हो, any object that you see around you always have 2 characteristics. You understood? Any object always has 2 characteristics. Number 1, objects have some properties. Number 2, object have some function. For example, if this is the glass, it's a glass. Number 1 of its properties, maybe it's made up of steel. Maybe it is something 10 centimeter in height. Maybe it is some 5-6 centimeter in the lower diameter. Maybe it has some circular mouth. So all these features define how does it look, वो दिखता कैसा है. Is that okay? Likewise, I'm sitting with this mic here around me. So it is made up of something, it has some other feature, it stops the background noise, it makes the noise clearer, it is black in color, it's a tripod supporter, etc etc. तो ये सारे क्वेश्चंस का आंसर जो है, it actually defines how this object look like, दिखता कैसा है. Alright, I'm sitting on a chair, say it's made up of some plastic or acrylic, it has 4 legs, it is so and so centimeter or meter in height, so much width meter wide, it is this, it is that. So again, all these question or features define how does this particular product look like, correct? Fine. So this is nothing but a property that defines the features, or maybe how would an object look like, or what will it have. Right? So remember, property of an object always explain or always define what does the product have, उसके पास क्या है, वो कैसा दिखता है, वो कैसा होगा. Right? So that is number one. Object always have some properties. Let me put this point down. Okay, every object has two characteristics. Number one, object have some properties. Okay, what are these properties? Properties are always those features that defines the object. Okay, the object, an object, that it defines an object. I hope you remember all these questions that I ask you. Like, this is a glass, it is so and so in centimeter in height, इतना width है, इतना diameter है, circular है, etc. अरे, but what it is used for? There's nothing useless around you. Even if it's a useless, maybe it's a kind of some showpiece or some attractive material. Understand? Everything that I could see around me, maybe there's a wall, maybe that's a protection, or maybe it's a shelter. Is that okay? Say this is a glass. What is it used for? This is used for some storage, or maybe used for drinking or something like that. Is that okay? Maybe if this is a microphone or a mic, what is this used for? Maybe it is used to amplify your voice and etc. etc. Is that okay? The chair, my friend, the chair, what is this used for? Maybe it is used for sitting, or maybe sometimes sleeping, or maybe relaxing at the most. Right? So any object that has properties will also have some functions. Functions are nothing but, come on, second characteristic of an object, function, also called as methods, people, that always defines the uses of an object. Alright, so this is a pen, it writes blue, so that becomes its property. If it writes black, that's another property. Am I right? Fine. Its nib is made up of some steel, that's again the property. अरे but इसका काम क्या है, किस चीज़ के लिए ये काम आती है? What is this used for? It's used for writing, painting, decorating, whatsoever. So that becomes the function of the object. Is that okay? Fine. I would like to stop this discussion here. Every object is characterized by property and some function. Right? This property and function put together becomes the class. So if someone asks you, what is a design made up of? Okay, what is a design of an object? Come on, please, this is something very important to understand. Okay, what is a design of an object made up of? Okay, first of all, design of an object is nothing but a class. Okay, so the design is made up of two things, or one of the two things. Number one, that is properties. Number two, that is function, or nothing but a method. So when somebody say, bhai, I am creating or I am designing a class, so what are you actually coding? You are coding nothing but properties and methods in the class. Are you getting that? Right? Class animal has some properties, animal has some functions. Alright, like an animal is so and so meter tall, or animal is so and so kg in weight. He's a wild animal or a domestic animal, herbivorous hai ya carnivorous hai. You got my point. So all these are nothing but the properties of an animal. These are common properties. Every animal is going to have it for sure, right? Every animal is going to have some height. Every animal is going to have some weight. If not in kilogram, maybe in gram or milligram or tons, for example. But that's common, my friend. Design में तो ये सब हमको रखना ही पड़ेगा. Every animal to design will always have these properties, right? They will definitely have some color. So color becomes the property. Alright, say one species of the dog where I say white in color. Another one may be brown in color. I hope you got my point. Fine. But there could be some functions like animal speaks. Some of them bark. Some of them roars. I hope you got my point. Concept, some of them are mammals. Some of them are somebody else. Some of them are somebody else. Concept clear. Fine. So these are nothing but the functions. alright, like eating or let me say walking or maybe speaking and so on. Right, so let me create two properties here. Say height, let me say 10. I'm not writing any units here because it will become a string, otherwise I need to write it in code. You consider whatever, 10 meter or what inches or feet, etc. And weight is equal to say 50 kilo. Is that fine? So these are the two properties of this class I create and finish. This is the smallest design in the world you will ever find. Okay, this is one of the smallest class you will ever find. A class with only two property, animal class with only two property, that is height and a weight. Right? Although very soon I'm going to conclude this is not a right way to create, but this is a good way to start at least. Clear? Next, come on. So if the design is ready, girls and boys, all my friends, if the good evening Bhumi, good evening Nisha. Alright, fine, I read your messages now. If the design is ready, so the developer is waiting for what? आप किस लिए रुके हो भाई? The design, the master copy is ready. You have to create the copies out of it, right? You have to create objects or copies out of it. Right, so let me see how to create an object of the class. It's a very simple way. Say the name of an object is A or A1 is equal to name of the class, that's animal. Okay, name of the class, that's animal. Make sure when you're creating an object, you're always writing opening closing round bracket after the name of the class. Now this is something you will find strange. आपको थोड़ा strange लगेगा because this round brackets were never part of the class definition, right? क्लास डिफाइन करते समय हमने तो ये राउंड ब्रैकेट कभी भी नहीं दिया था. नो, बट व्हेन यू आर क्रिएटिंग एन ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ द क्लास, creating copy out of the master design, make sure that the class name always ends with opening closing round bracket. I keep this question unanswered. Why? Okay, so let me put this question here. Why those round brackets, people? Okay, why those round parentheses? Parentheses are nothing but brackets after the name of the class while creating its object. Is that okay? Question is unanswered. Even I don't know right now. I want your help later. Is that okay? Let's keep it unanswered and go ahead. Okay, fine. And it's done. Let me run the code till here. Control enter. Done. Control enter and it's done. Okay, there is no significant output because we have not printed anything. Yes, fine. I'll come to you. You're right in the chat section. People, next important point. Those, especially those of my friends who are learning object-oriented programming first time, जो बच्चे पहली बार सीख रहे हैं, try to understand. Once you create an object of any class, then beware, mind you, by default anything that class has, the object will also have. You understood? Whatever my master class has or the mother class has, its object will also end up having it. Okay, this is like saying, whatever my parents have, I also own it. Like I'm a heiress, right? आप उनकी वारिसदार हो, जैसे भी आप बोलते हो. Right, so whatever my family owns, I also own it. So this house belongs to my father, that means it belongs to me also. The car belongs to my mother, that means it belongs to me also. So whatever belongs to your mother class, once you create an object, and mind you, you have no objection. You can't object now. This everything automatically will belong to the children also. Of course, there are some ways how can we prevent this from happening. Tomorrow when we study public, private, protected access specifier, we'll put some constraint upon this. But as of now, by default, everything is public. Okay, इस क्लास में, इस डिज़ाइन में सारी पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी है. जो चाहिए आके इसे यूज कर सकता है. Got it? That is what is the meaning. Alright, so how should I confirm that? So I say print A1 dot people. Now dot is an operator here. Come on, dot is an operator with the help of which we can access the properties of the class. I can't write just print height. Wrong. Print height of an animal. What do you mean by height? It says height is not defined. Am I right? Height is not defined. Actually, a1 dot height. Okay, so now using dot operator, a1 can access everything from its master class. Now you understood how we were writing yesterday, like d is equals to date time. Date time, for example, it's showing me warning because we have not imported date time. Got it? And so now if I say date d time or d dot now or d dot today, so that's fine because now is actually a function of date time. थोड़ा ध्यान दीजिए, now is actually a function of date time, but because d is an object of date time, whatever belongs to date time will also belong to d. Got it? Is that okay? Fine. Now is actually a function of date time class, but because d उसी का object है, उसी का बच्चा है, हाँ तो भाई जो माँ बाप का है वो उसका भी होगा. Right? Therefore now is a function which can be easily accessed by object d. Right? So this was a logic we were using yesterday or the last class. So print a dot height. Let me print it. It says me 10. Height and weight both. So I say a1 dot weight. Height and weight both. Okay, so that's 50. Good. Right? Now suppose I don't want 50, but or let me say there's another object a2. Okay, it's a different animal, and this animal has height something 20 and weight something 200. Got it? But if I write like this, print a2 dot height, a2 dot weight, you see what's going to happen. I run this. No, so it's again telling me 10 and 50. No, but all animals are not having the same height and same weight. बात समझ रहा, हर एनिमल का वही हाइट और वही वेट नहीं होगा, which was actually hard coded by you in the design, right? I hope you got my point. For example, this the let me say the trouser or let me say the t-shirt is well designed, but it could be of different sizes like XL or double XL or triple XL, but the design is common, or let me say it's constant. Am I right? Even if the design is same, but the sizes are still different, correct? Okay, the sizes when it goes under stitching, the fabric when it is been stitched, हम तभी उसमें भी changes लाते हैं भाई design में. Some designs have to be stitched with XL size, some designs have to be stitched with double XL size or maybe triple XL size. Got it? Fine. So that is what I'm arguing here with you. But height and weight for all animal is not same maybe. So is it possible some objects can change the properties defined in the class? Yes, it is. You look how. Right after I create the object, I say a2 dot height is equals to not 10 but 20. a2 dot weight is equals to not 50 but 200. Alright, now when object resets the property, this is what is happening here, right? a2 is an object and a2 has resetted all the properties like height and weight. So the priority will be given to the new values rather than the defined values. I hope you understanding. ये property override हो गया. Okay, property override हो गया. Shiraz, I didn't get your question. Actually, ma'am, what if we get print a1? Okay. That is a memory reference of a1 you will get. Like this you're talking. Just a1. This way, right? No. This is just a memory reference of it. Is that okay? Yeah, you can say pointer to a1 been returned. Correct. This output makes no sense to us. That's a memory reference of a1. Object at so and so. It's a cell reference or memory reference. Good. Address. Correct. Fine. That makes no sense. I hope you got my point. Fine. So this is how we have overridden the property. So now if you could execute this code, line number 11. So a2 dot height has written me an output 20 and a2 dot weight has written me an output 200. Hoping you are understanding. You say I have another animal now. Okay, this is a third animal. Say this time the animal is cat. I create an object, say a3. The names can be any. and I write animal, a3 dot height is something 5, and a3 dot weight is something say 15, and once again I say print a3 dot height, a3 dot weight, okay, weight, and this is how my code looks, and I go to execute this lines again. Fine, so this is what I got printed in the end, 5 and 15. But people, what happens, I am bored of this job, fed up. डेवलपर सेज भाई ऐसा 3 नहीं, अगर 300 ऑब्जेक्ट होगा, and if this 300 objects will have some differences in the properties, everybody have different height, everybody have different weight, everybody have different color, some of them are carnivorous, some of them are herbivorous, I hope you got my point, some of them are wild, some of them are domestic, some of them can be kept as a pet. So for 300 or 3000 animals, who is going to change the properties manually again and again and print them? Are you understanding? So this is a tiring job. So what do we do? What do we do in order to come out of it? See, I'm taking you to a little indirect road so that you never forget throughout your IT career the use of this another thing which is going to come up. Okay, see, what I want, right at the time when I create an object, जब आप ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करते हो, ठीक उसी समय बता दो what height and what weight you want, or maybe what color also, if it's a property. Okay, come on, give a little effort so you will understand very clear what I'm talking. This is what ideal code should look like. Exactly when I create it like this, say A4. Okay, right here I will say this should be of the height say 4. This should be of the weight say 45. Its color should be black. Understood? Means ये नीचे वाला काम हमको ना करना पड़े. A4 dot height S4, A4 dot weight S something, whatever it is, 45, 90, etc. A4 dot color. Color is not that I need to code it. So I don't want to. First of all, there are 2. So what if there were 200 properties? Are you understanding? ऐसे 2 नहीं भाई, 200 प्रॉपर्टी होती तो हम 200 प्रॉपर्टी थोड़ी एडिट करते बैठे होते, right or not? Fine, for my friends who understand what am I speaking here, I forget, now you find it easy because there are only 2 properties and 3 objects. What if there were 300 objects and each object had 200 properties? 300 into 200, that's 6000. Are you crazy? Or maybe even more than that. I hope you got my point. Or maybe even more than that. So many lines of code will unnecessarily increase. So what I want, something like this. Right when I create an object, I should pass this information in this round bracket, and class will automatically rewrite on its own. Okay, if somebody could acknowledge to me in the chat section, I would be great. Yes ma'am. Okay, thank you. Fine. So this is where Python or object-oriented programming coins the concept of constructor. People, this is very, very important. Okay, this is very, very important. Constructor. Okay, understand constructor once, but never to forget throughout and full stack career. Okay, constructor को आप जिस किसी भी लैंग्वेज में यूज करते हो, एक बार समझने का, but you have to understand and grasp it in such a way that you should never forget throughout your full stack career. Got it? Now there are 2 questions, or maybe more than 2 questions. Number 1, what is a constructor? What is a constructor? Number 2, why to use it? And number 3, how to use it? Okay, I'm going to answer the third question first. How to use it. Then we'll see why to use it and what it is exactly. Yes. No, Rajiguru, no. Inheritance is far away now. Rajiguru, my friend, you will confuse the story otherwise. हम अब तक inheritance पर आए ही नहीं हैं. Okay, you have to understand constructor very clearly before we could go to inheritance. Got it? Fine. How to use the constructor we will see first. Why and what is a constructor we will see then. Is that okay? Fine. I would like to speed up a little because before 6 p.m. today, I want people to understand the constructor. Okay? Number one. So let's go inside the class. We'll modify this design. Okay? Actually creating or initializing properties like this, the highlighted part was not right. You're wrong here. Okay? This is how we do it. Come on. Number one, constructor is a function. Like any ordinary function we create, constructor is a function, but the constructor always have a common name called as init. I-N-I-T. Understanding? Come on. The constructor is nothing but a function which is created using keyword def. And in Python, constructors have only one name, that is init. For the people who are coming here from Java, in case जावा में कंस्ट्रक्टर का नाम वही होता है जो क्लास का नाम होता है. Alright, constructor has a name. What is the name of the class? But no, in Python, constructors have a common name in it. And how do we write it? See, like this: 2 underscore before init, 2 underscores after init, followed by a round bracket, because it's a function. Are you getting it? Let me write a comment here. This is a constructor. Okay, a constructor always have a name. That is init, people. If you are a little intelligent enough to understand, init stands for nothing but initialize. Alright, init stands for nothing but initialize. Number 2, what does it do? ये करता क्या है? Come on, ये करता क्या है? I'm writing this point. Read this sentence 2 times, please. Never to forget. Read it 2 times. A constructor. Come on, this is the key point from the lecture today. This is a key takeaway. आज के 1 घंटे का ये actually takeaway है. A constructor is used to initialize values to the properties of the class. Okay, so the way we have done the initialization here, this is actually wrong. Properties, values are assigned to the properties of the class with the help of constructor. I hope you got my point. Got it? Fine. Now because there are 2 properties, what will I do? I will accept 2 arguments here. But remember, you like, you don't like, constructor always have first argument called as self. Right? I'll keep this point pending and aside. What this is used for, we'll see that later. Self. So don't count it. That is mandatory always. In fact, in the functions coming up ahead also, I'll tell you first argument of any function in the class is always self. Shortly we'll discuss about what is self for. Okay. Now let's take 2 arguments here, say x and y. Okay. Now we have 2 properties. One is height, one is weight. So I write here self.height. Wherever you see the word self, keep it aside. उसको बाजू में रखो. Self.height is equals to x and self.weight is equals to y. Simple. This constructor is accepting 2 arguments x and y. The value of incoming argument x is assigned to property height and the value of incoming argument y is assigned to property weight. Are you understanding? Fine. The value of x, people, x is assigned whatever, because it's an argument, it is going to receive some value during function call. So whatever comes in x will be assigned to the property height, whatever value comes in y will be assigned to the property weight. So now it makes no sense to write property height and weight this way. Let me comment these 2 lines of code. Right? If you want to keep something by default assigned, you can still keep it, but I want to get rid of that. Alright, someone please acknowledge to me in the chat section. Are you understanding? Now next time when I create object of this class, the code is below down. Let me write a new code right here. Okay, first let me execute all the part till here. Good. Next time, say I want to create an object called as a5 is equals to animal. Come on, the question which we left unanswered, जिसको हमने यहाँ पर unanswered रख दिया, why those round parentheses after the name of the class when we create object? I hope you got my point. When we create object, people, why? Okay, because next important point, try to understand. Oh, where did I go? Fine. The round bracket when you create an object always point to the constructor of the class. Are you understanding? Fine. This round parenthesis when you create an object is actually a call to the constructor of the class. Fine. So when you create an object, right from here, the call to its constructor goes within the class. That means here. So now if you run this, it will give you an error. Sorry, you are using calling the constructor, but the constructor is expecting two positional argument. There are three, but self is not counted, people. Usko chhod dena. The self is for its own internal use. That's not for you. Constructor is created in the class, but it works with two argument. But you have called the constructor without argument. Okay, so let me pass one argument. Say 30. I run this. Sorry, it says me still you are missing one argument. That is why. Because constructor is created with two and you are passing only one argument. So from this error, it was pretty sure and concluded that this round bracket is nothing but call to the constructor of the class. Correct? इस error से ये बात साफ है that round bracket is a call to the constructor of the class. That's what I mentioned. ठीक है, so 130, another 100. Let me, okay, the code executed well. So I think this was much better to code rather than coding it in this way. Am I right? Height and then weight. So suppose if there is one more property, for example, if there is one more property of the class, say color. Okay, I can't write just color, I'm writing self.color, say x, y, and we receive the color information in z. So let me receive the third argument also here. Let me rerun this 3 lines of code, or maybe 4. Okay, once again if I try to create an object of class animal, one minute please. Okay, so it's a, sorry, the one positional argument is missing. So let me pass an argument here. Let me pass an argument here, say black, and I run this. Fine, my code executed well. Fine, what if I want to print them? Come on, how to print it? So I say print a5 dot height, okay, a5 dot color, okay, a5 dot weight. 1 minute please, moment please. Okay, a5 dot weight, and if I could run this line, good. So it says me that is 30 black and 100. Hoping you are understanding, right? So this was much simple to create an object and print its detail rather than initializing height, weight, color differently every time. People, I would be glad if somebody would acknowledge to me, is this part clear or not? Now the question remains, what was this self? Okay, now I give you one hint here. For those who have remembered in your Java or JavaScript, we had a this pointer, right? The same work was done over there by this. Number 1, self is a pointer and it points to the currently calling object. I repeat 2-3 times. Come on, self, it's a pointer, people. The one who points at, समझते हैं आप pointing, इशारा करना. So it points at someone. Whom does it point at? The caller of an object or the currently calling object? For example, who is calling animal class right now? A5 is calling, right? So that means self points to A5, and throughout these lines of code, self substitute its value to A5. you have written self, it will actually rewrite this code as a5.height, a5.weight, a5.color. Alright, fine. So if I create one more object now, suppose a6, right? I create one more object, say a6. This is also an object of the class animal. Constructor of this class require 3 argument minimum. So let me say 50 to 100 again, and say color is something brown. Color is something brown. I say enter or execute it. Now who is self? Come on, who called this constructor? Tell me. Who called the constructor of the class animal? That is a6. So self will be actually substituted by the name of the caller. Repeating for the last time, self is substituted by the name of the caller of an object. So it's a6 is a caller right now. And throughout the constructor block, self will be renamed as a6. Although you have written self.height, but it will actually be interpreted as a6.height, a6.weight, and a6.color. Yes, correct. Understood. Thank you so much for that. People are understanding here. Fine. So now I hope it is clear how easy it is to use the constructor. How simple our task becomes. That means a lot of lines of code is saved when you use the constructor, right? Fine. So these are the 2-3 questions that I kept them unanswered. Number 1, what is a constructor? It is used to initialize the object, or it is used to initialize the properties of an object. Is that so that you don't have to rewrite the values to the property outside the class? It makes our work and coding easier. It initializes the properties right inside the constructor block. Okay, why to use it? So that coding becomes efficient. How to use it? Using the keyword init. Self is in first argument here. In fact, not only of the constructor, but any function which you code inside the class. I repeat, any function that you code inside the class, the first argument has to be a self. That means it will point at the currently calling object. Alright, let's quickly put together all that we have learned. Come on, we started from object-oriented programming. People, the object-oriented programming always talks in terms of classes and objects, where classes are nothing but the master design and objects are nothing but the copies of the design. Class is created once, objects are duplicated from the class. Once you create an object, everything that a class has, an object will also have it. Got it? हर वो चीज जो क्लास के पास है आपके ऑब्जेक्ट के पास भी होंगी, unless you put some restriction, so that we don't have to assign different values to the properties for each object. हर बार आपको प्रॉपर्टी एडिट ना करना पड़े मैनुअल कोडिंग के थ्रू. We have something called as a constructor. I hope you got my point. We have something called as a constructor. So constructor always takes argument which are nothing but values to the property. So that's a correct way. This was just a start of object oriented programming. We still have to see how to define functions inside, what is inheritance, and what is the use of some access specifiers like public, private, and protected. All these we are going to cover up in the class tomorrow right at 5 p.m. Okay, sending you all the attendance link. Make sure that you are filling up. Okay, goodbye, take care. If any doubt, I am here again for the next 5 minutes. Please put it up.